Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of the brand new Takeover United pod. I'm Pratyush, and
Hey, I'm Somdeep.
Hey, I'm Rohan.
yes, so Somdeep, Rohan, and I, this is our first ever podcast, first ever stream of the podcast. And we're going to take over your weekend with all things Manchester United. The three of us are big Manchester United fans. And yeah, we'll come to you live every weekend, either, Friday night Pacific time or Saturday night Pacific time, depending on schedules. And yeah, we will chat about Manchester United, the week, the games, what happened, how the club is doing, and everything related to that. And yeah, uh, so yeah, quick intro about all of us. Yeah, I think Somdeep and Ron. Yeah, I think we can start off. Each of us say how we got into supporting United, right? So yeah, I'll go first. So yeah, I think I started supporting United in what, like 2001 ish. I was just kind of cricket was the first sport I started watching, and then I was expanding beyond cricket, and
Unfortunate.
unfortunately, yeah. So I was expanding beyond cricket, and I would turn on the TV. I would uh, switch on Star Sports, and every time without fail, any football highlights that I would tune in, the only thing I would hear is Nistelrooy. That's the only damn thing I heard every time. And I was like, who's this player? Who's this guy just scoring goals for fun, right? And yeah, basically that's how I got into, Man United. Till date, a Nistelrooy jersey is the only player jersey that I have. It's the, I think, 2003 season Nistelrooy jersey or something. I don't remember the exact year. But yeah,
Nice.
that's how I got into United. It's been 20 years. We had a good run originally, but then yeah, we know what happened in 2013, and yeah, well, uh,
Yeah, I feel like right from the beginning, the tone that this podcast is like starting to take, this is beginning to feel like, I don't know, like a mental health support group, with United's
yeah,
fortunes.
yeah. And fun fact for our viewers or the listeners, the three of us have a United discussion group, and for a long time, its name was the Dead Inside Gang.
You say that like things are different now, but
Yeah.
they really are.
I mean, they're really not. I mean, we really considered naming this podcast also as that before we before we came to this name. So yeah, that's how I got into United. Unfortunately, yeah, Somdeep,
Yeah,
let's hear your story.
Uh, yeah, what can I say? I think my earliest memory of football was probably was definitely watching David Beckham score from the halfway line. I remember seeing that on TV and thinking, "Holy shit! Like I want to be able to do that." And I think it really started from there for me. Paul Scholes, David Beckham, watching. It helped that United won the Champions League right around then as well. So that obviously kind of solidified it in my mind. Um, but yeah, of course, soon after came Rooney and Ronaldo, Nistelrooy. So I think it started from appreciating how well those teams used to play at that point in time. Uh, what I didn't know was that my childhood arrows would lead me to losing weekends now for much of my adult life. So yeah, that's not been as much fun. But I suppose that's how football works, right? Like you have cycles. Like we had, like you said, we had a pretty decent cycle at that point in time, and things are different now. But I also feel like there's more to talk about now, just because of all the issues at the club. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. Like a certain Baldy said, eras come to an end. Am I right?
Yeah, and they did for him. They did.
And well, yeah, and you, Rohan, how did you get into supporting United? And destroying your life in the process.
So I go for me. It goes way back when I was in school, and I just started watching football, and there is always this phase where you start to like watch teams and watch and try to pick which team you're gonna support.
Yeah,
So I stumbled upon a game where I saw Paul Scholes for the first time, and just like by watching him, right? Like it just I did not understand any technicality, anything about it, but I just knew that while looking at him, he was just like pulling the strings, and it was just like I was like, okay, yeah, football should be played like this only. Like look at this guy, he's just like so tiny, and he's like playing around all these, playing with these huge dudes who are just running around him, and he's passing so beautifully and everything. And then I eventually started watching other players as well, Beckham, Giggsy, and Roy Keane, and eventually I started getting into that uh, flow of watching United games, and I just became a fan of the, and I didn't even know that we were that successful at that time. Like I did not do any, I didn't know we had such a rich history. Just the
right.
way we were playing and going about it, I really loved it, and I just started watching United and supporting United. That's how
Yeah,
I got into it.
yeah. That's how it sucked us in, right? Sir
Yes,
Alex Ferguson used to win games for like for fun, right? And
yeah,
we as kids didn't know better. We thought it'd always be that way. And now we celebrate when we win 3 games in a row.
We haven't actually done that this season, but yeah,
No, we just did. We won the last three
we did.
games. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wait, like
Bucharesti,
yeah. We
Fulham,
did, we
and
did.
Rangers. Yeah,
it doesn't feel
Yes.
like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So before we go to the games, just one more quick thing for our viewers and listeners. Yeah, like I said, we'll go live on Twitch every weekend. Either Friday night Pacific time or Saturday night Pacific time, and then the recording will be up on YouTube. So most of you will probably see it there.
If
And we're also going to
if we
set
save
up,
it,
it's saving this time. Uh, and also it will be, we'll also publish on podcasts, right? So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, yeah, wherever you get your podcasts, you should be able to, get the podcast and subscribe and listen to them. And so, yeah, getting into the games. Well, we had 2 games this week, right? We had Fulham and Bucharest. We won both games, and yeah, as Somdeep just realized a few moments ago, first time in the season we won 3 consecutive games, right? Of course, 2 of them were Europa games against Rangers and Bucharest, and the one was the Premier League game in the middle against Fulham. And actually, if you take the streak a little back, in the last 6 games, we have won 5 of them, right? Um, so that includes both Arsenal, the penalty win against Arsenal, and Southampton. And of course, in between there was that loss against Brighton, which where the game completely
I I
unraveled.
I feel like I feel like I have to interject here. Like
Yes,
the
yes,
Arsenal win,
Somdeep.
the Arsenal win was probably the most undeserving victory I have ever witnessed. At least between two English teams at this level. Uh, we completely deserved to lose. We were terrible throughout. We gave up chance after chance to Arsenal, point blank
Right.
chances in front of goal. And having said all of that, that makes that victory that much sweeter. So, like,
Yeah,
I'm glad
but
that
but
happened.
but hey, but Arsenal had Kai Havertz, man. They did it to themselves.
Okay, I know I was being funny, and we say that, right? Like, and there's been a lot of vitriol from Arsenal fans directed at Kai Havertz for this entire season. Okay, I keep
Yeah.
seeing like death threats. They apparently sent death threats to
What?
his wife. Yeah,
What the
yeah,
heck?
Arsenal fans. Yeah, but the weird thing is, and of course, like it's not okay no matter what a player does. Like obviously something like that's off the table. But Kai Havertz, despite all the mockery, is on I think 16 goals and assists this season. 16. You know, that is Hoyland's career total for context. Maybe I'm overestimating Hoyland, but like he's getting peltos from his own fans, and we have somebody who scored 2 goals in 9 months. Like in the league. So I feel like we won that particular game, but if you kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the club is
Yeah,
in terrible shape, like
right.
absolutely terrible shape.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And even this, right, coming to terrible shape. If we talk about the Fulham game, Sondeep and Rohan, it, I mean, I know we won that 1-0, but it really wasn't that good a game, right? We played terrible that weekend. Like, yeah, I mean, I really don't know how we won that game. Like, I got bored and I think turned off towards the end because it's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, it was that kind of a game, right? Where nothing's really happening. Both the teams were like I would say were equally terrible, and it was just an overall terrible game in its entirety. And we are facing this situation where we have we we haven't signed many players for our new coach yet. The new players are still adapting to the new coach's system, and they are making individual errors. I see same individual errors in all defense, in all areas, in defense, in midfield, in attack, every week. And we every week we see we rely on someone from like some but one individual to show some moment of brilliance. Like even like Lisandro's hit was like it got deflected and it was lucky, but it was a moment for us. It was a
Yeah, I
moment
feel
for
like
us, and
I feel like a lot of the worrying sign is that a lot of our recent individual brilliance has been from Lisandro, the left center back. Like,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
yeah,
and his brilliance hasn't been in defending because he's been pretty poor at his primary job. He's
yeah.
been scoring like last minute winners or assisting last minute winners for us, which is probably not a good sign for the overall health of the team.
Yeah, that's what, right? Like we see, like even like the Southampton game, you saw Marman score 2 goals and just like get us the victory, and even like Bruno's last minute goal versus Rangers. So it really shows where we are right now as a club and as a team as well. And like this season looks like we are in just survival mode. We just need those points. We just need to push through somehow to get to the summer window and then really try and look at what options do we have to improve our team with the personnel.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't, mind grinding out a win. It still beats losing 4 in a row, which was December.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's also not sustainable, right? Like, you can't expect a Lisandro Martinez and Diogo Dalot to give you winners every game. They're not forwards, right? That is the job of your forwards. And like,
Yeah,
what
but
are our
if
forwards
you
doing? Like, it feels like Amorim, every time I see the team lineup at every game, I feel like Amorim is like, man, I don't have anybody to play up top. Like, you see, one game is starting Hoyland, one game is starting Xerxes, and at 60th minute he will sub one guy off, bring the other guy on, and he's like, he's probably thinking, what the hell do I have here? Doesn't matter who I play, they're crap, so might as well rotate them. That's how it feels. Our forward line is right now.
Yeah, I came across this interesting stat the other day. In the Fulham game, right? You were referring to it. Uh, Fulham created a bit more XG than us
Right.
from better quality shots, which for me, like that's a telling statistic. But what
But
also
also,
happened
Somdeep, they
is
had
that
zero shots on target.
yeah, but like, see, the thing with them having zero shots is just indicative of their finishing quality, right? That can come down to the just the individual quality of the forward on the day. Uh, the fact that we gave up those chances to me is more concerning, and I'll tell you why. 80, I think 89% of all of Fulham's shots were from within the box, right?
Right.
Yeah, but only 25% of United's were from within the box. So even the little XG that we did accumulate was a function of hopeful attempts from distance, which really wouldn't have amounted to something
Yeah, yeah.
on
Actually, let
in
me
most situations.
put that graphic here, Sandeep, while about
Yeah,
shots.
yeah. You maybe find it on who scored, but I'm fairly
Yeah,
sure
just
like
putting it from who
the,
scored. Give me one sec. Yeah, keep talking.
and I think part of the issue is like if you look at the starting lineup, right? Amram's first 4 or 5 games, we all know that Ruben Amram, he has this tendency to play what's essentially a 3-4-3, or at least it used to be a 3-4-3 at Sporting. Yeah, this is the graphic I'm referring to. So you see right here, like even the XG that we did accumulate, when I say XG, I'm referring to expected goals, a
Yeah,
metric that says this is the probability of this shot ending up in the net, as simply. And a good example of that is a penalty. A penalty has the highest probability of ending up in the
right.
goal just because of the location. So, we're getting bad shots off from bad locations. That's one problem that's visible. Two, we're not creating enough dangerous situations, and I feel part of that is linked to Amram's focus on the shape. His shape, which used to be 3-4-3 at Sporting, it's devolved very much now over the last 10 games into playing a back five. He's played a back five against Arsenal and Liverpool, which maybe you can understand given the teams he's up against. But he's done the same against Fulham. Uh, I believe he did the same against Arsenal in the cup, and it's happened far more often than that. Yeah, you can see the numbers right there. It's I mean I like okay, maybe this is the most undeserving victory ever. Like I feel like I jumped the gun on the Arsenal one. So the bigger theme I'm referring to is Amrim wants to play a back three. We don't have wing backs. He adapts by playing full backs who are not comfortable in that role. I understand he doesn't have options right now.
Right.
But because of that, we have no attacking impetus. We have very few ways of accessing the box. We have very few ways of creating opportunities to score. And in the games that you run up against in the Premier League, whether it's teams like Fulham or Arsenal, you can't afford this level of low box penetration. Like it's gonna hurt you again and again. And yes, we
Right.
have terrible forwards, but this is like one step even before that.
Yeah, no, I agreed. And, just, it's just so bad, right? Like, just a few years ago, like, even when we had bad seasons, United always used to be like, their midfield is crap, but they have great attackers, right? So they'll somehow just pull a goal out of thin air and win games, right? And right now, our midfield situation hasn't improved, right? I mean, uh,
Correct. Yeah.
but and we lost goal scorers too, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
what is this, like? No, like,
And
yeah,
and we have the manager like publicly saying that he would rather pick the goalkeeping coach over our most recognized goal scorer. I mean,
yeah,
I get that, but we're a team in 15th. Like, we don't have the luxury of like any of this right now.
yeah, yeah,
We're kind of in a relegation battle, is what I
right.
feel.
And yeah, so this is Bucharest. So you see, as soon as the Bucharest game, we went more into the box, right? And you can see we got more goals, right? 57% in the 18-yard box, right? Compared to the Fulham game where we were not in any box. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. We weren't even in ours defending properly.
yes. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like it just, yeah, this team is, I think, Remember, guys, like, a couple of seasons ago, we would say that, hey, we are probably 2 seasons and 3 players away from competing for the title. And we went so
Yeah,
backwards
yeah.
from that, man. Now it feels like we're half a decade away from top four, like the state that our club is in.
I feel like we're one season from top four.
You mean 1 season away from top four of the championship?
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Rohan, I got a question for you, right? Like, cause I know you feel strongly about this. Like, how do you perceive Amarin's formation, which, for all intents and purposes, is 5-2-3? How do you see that fitting into the Premier League, and what are the parts we lack in United squad for those profiles?
Um, like I just continue from where you left, where you were mentioning about the Fulham game, and we didn't have enough attacking. We didn't create threats going forward, and that is clearly true. Like when you look at the game, it can be seen, and even the stats are there to back it up. That's totally that's a good point. But what I feel is right. Like if you look at the Bucharest game as well, we didn't have much in attack, but I did like for the first time in this season at Amurin, I saw players making the right runs in behind the defense. Whether it be Cobino, whether it be Bruno at times. Bruno very partly because he was in with Manu and he came deep and he tried to dictate. Manu, I saw them making runs. I saw even like Hoyland making decent runs in behind the defense. And the thing is, these guys what I see is these guys are right now just just learning what Amorim wants to do, and they are gonna make mistakes. That is for sure. That is seen, and it's we are not exactly there yet where we can just say okay, these guys are just in full flow and we are getting more threats. I think to get to that point, it will take a number of things like transfers, more players coming in, more trainings as well, more training sessions as well. I don't think we are there yet. Like it is going to take a lot of time. Like at least if like if Morim has his first 11 by let's say November 2025, like if he knows his first 11, that will be a little bit of a relief for us, I feel, because if by then he doesn't even know what first 11 he has, like who is he gonna play for the next season, like the whole season, his 5-3-2 format, like his formation, then
Yeah.
that would be worrying. And because you can keep playing these players. Of course, they are here under contract. You can Ineos may well and go and tell him that okay, we are not ending too much, and you just do with what we have. But then we won't see what you are mentioning, right? We won't see those more threat creating actions. We won't see any short creating actions. No goals. We won't. We will face the same issues that we are facing right. So it might improve a little bit, but not too drastically. And to come to again reiterate the fact that okay, we are not defending really well. We midfield isn't gelling well. It's not they are not combining really well. It's again uh, it all depends on like okay, Amorim can make a lot of tweaks. He clearly did make tweaks for the FCSB. He did for the Fulham game as well. Even before that, he made tweaks. He accommodated Ganacho to accommodate Dallas made tweaks. But again, if if we need certain positions to play well, we have to profile the first three. The scouts have to profile the players well who we want to target, and we need to be able to get them. That would be like the first step towards improving anything actually, because
I,
MRM can do a lot, like he can a lot of tweaks, but at the end of the day, if a player isn't like too comfortable in that position, or he he can make like 100 mistakes and we can be back to square one. So that's how I feel about that right now.
okay, I want to go into this a little more. Like, Pratyush, can you pull up that graphic we were talking about? You know, the one with
Yeah.
the
Which
rough
one?
shape that Amram's looking at. We shared it earlier, probably in
Yeah.
the chat.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm just seeing why my video is zoomed in.
Yeah, let me go into it a little bit while you pull that up. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, like Rohan, I agree with you that we obviously don't have the players for this setup, and arguably for a lot of setups because the general play quality at United is on the poorer side,
Yeah.
right? But I think
Yeah.
for me the
Which
question is
graphics
it's
on
a
the?
chicken and egg. The one referring to Amram's shape that he played against Bucharest.
Oh, okay. Do you mean player positions?
Yeah, exactly. The one with player positions. Maybe you can pull it up from the chat instead. There's a different graphic there.
Oh, okay. Let me put this first. I'll pull that up.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah, the one from Who Scored works as well. Okay, so I we don't have the player quality. I definitely agree with that. But I also think it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. Yeah, that's a perfect example actually. So what I mean by that is, do we pick a manager uh, that fits a certain style of football or a certain setup that the club as a whole pursues? Or every time there's a new manager at the club, do we just adapt everything to go along with what the manager's system entails? Uh, Eric Ten Hag, whatever his principles might be, he played essentially a 4-4-2. I think for his last two seasons, out of possession and in possession as well. He played like mostly on the counter attack, aiming for transitions, failing spectacularly at that, but that was his overall aim. We've shifted to a very different approach, a very controlled approach with three centre backs in the last line, flanked by two wing backs. You can see the evidence right here. You see the number 3, 4, and 6. They encapsulate, I think, the centre backs here. 12 is probably Malasia, who's covering on that side.
Yeah.
So he's a much more restrained fullback than we'd normally see. Uh, and I think what also happens is that because Ericsson, number 14, and Kobe both play these games, they've occupied the double 10 zones for Amrim,
Yeah.
right behind the striker. And yeah, so what I can see from here is that, of course, due to the lack of training time, we don't have proper wing backs. We don't have those players. We haven't had time to train them to take up these areas properly. So I see evidence of that. But what I haven't seen evidence of so far is this translating to sustainable success in the Premier League. Like when Arteta arrived at Arsenal, he went through really difficult phases. He I remember there was a streak where I think in 12 games he had one win, and he had like 10 losses and a draw. Or maybe I'm exaggerating. He had a few draws and the majority were losses. His solitary win in 12 games was against United. Uh, that was the only this thing. So he survived difficult results, maybe even more difficult than anything Amram's had so far. But I always sensed from watching Arsenal play that season that they had an identity of how they wanted to play, but they kept falling short of it due to personnel issues and a lot of errors being made by the players. United find themselves in a similar spot, but I feel like my question to you guys here is: do you see potential in Amarim's system to take us up in the Premier League with the right players?
Yeah, I think personally I do. I mean, okay, not that I've seen a lot in his short time here at United, right? But yeah, I think if you just look back at his time at Sporting, right? He was Sporting, right? That's a Portuguese club he was at.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way he took them, right, to championship quality in a short time. Obviously, I recognize that it won't be such a short turnaround in the Premier League, right? The competition is much higher, the player quality is much higher, other teams' quality is much higher. But I think just that, you know, the transformation he could do at Sporting, right? Sporting is also a massive club in Portugal. They have their, fair share of media attention from the Portuguese press, right? And Amorim, despite being young, well, he was younger than he is now, he still kind of managed that whole thing very well. So, yeah, I feel he can still do it, but obviously he needs time, right? And I don't think time is an issue Manchester United managers have had, right? They get plenty of time. But I think the more pressing thing is that he gets what he wants, right? Like the kind of profiles he wants, the kind of players he wants. I think I would say Ineos should ask him what are the kind of profiles he wants rather than the kind of players he wants. Because, as we've discussed before, in our private conversations, managers know what kind of player they want, but they may not necessarily know who they want, right? And you can see it in our team as well. We give so much control to the manager, and we never had any, technical director like, person in the club that we would just buy whoever the manager said, right? Instead of saying, hey, okay, this is your system, okay, 3-5-2, 3-4-2-1, whatever it is. And, these are the profiles you need. So these are the kind, you need, I don't know, ball playing defender, wing backs, double tens, players you can play.
But I feel like we're still doing that. Like I don't feel anything's structurally changed. Like we
Yeah,
hired a
no, no, no.
director of football.
We fired him. No, nothing has changed. So
Yeah,
I'm saying,
like
what I'm saying is, I hope the club does that, right? I mean, instead of just asking Amarim, hey, who do you want? And Amarim's like, I don't know, I want Messi or something, It's like a random. That is the first footballer who came to my mind. But Amarim just says, hey, I want this guy, and the club is like,
didn't we
okay,
all?
fine, we'll break the bank. Now, problem is we don't even have a bank to break now, right? Because of so many years of mismanagement. We even don't have funds, right? So, yeah, I think that's a problem. And yeah, to go on a mini rant here, I really was not a fan of hiring him mid-season, right? We spent an entire
Right.
preseason training under Eric Ten Hag's methods, right? And like the
Apparently.
whole reason, yes, but I mean the whole reason a preseason is important is because that's the time a manager gets, right, to actually train the side, right? There are no matches to distract you. There's no other kinds of stuff going on. It's just training pitch and friendlies, right? Like if you see this season, we play 2 games a week, right? In 7 days, 2 games are match days, so they are gone. You have 5 days, right? And if you have 2 games, you probably have two of the other days as rest days, right? So 4 days are already gone, right? And then you have 3 days left to train, right? And in that 3 days, because the Premier League or the Europa games are coming so thick and fast at you, managers probably use those sessions to do more like, hey, this is that team strengths, these are team weaknesses, kind of more focused, training towards the next opposition rather than kind of drilling in tactics and all that. And when you have so many disjointed training sessions, that's why if you see a lot of clubs when they hire managers mid-season, it's to more like, hey, let's ensure that this season doesn't go off the rails kind of appointments, right? You don't see big clubs do like this is a massive direction change we've had as a club in the middle of the season, right? Like Eric Ten Hag was one system, and Ruben Amorim is a completely different system, right? Eric Ten Hag was there for this was his third season, right? And also managers before Ten Hag were kind of similar in player profiles and all that. You know what kind of systems and managers they were. So you had a good. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think if you consider Ole and Eric as kind of having similar systems, right? Um, fast paced counter attack transition kind of thing. I know it's not exactly the same. Before people in the comments take my case, but I mean, kind of. I mean, like a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 kind of system. Very similar. Profiles. Midfield 2 or midfield 3, and those kind of things. And from there, right, for the past 5-6 years, those are the kind of players we bought, right? And we did all this. And then what do we do mid-season in November? We fire Eric Ten Hag and we hire a manager who has been very, very vocal that he will use only one system, right? I mean, I don't blame him, right? Like the club, Ineos kind of did this when they hired him. But you know what kind of guy you're getting, and still you go and hire that guy, right? When your whole team has 25 players plus you teams and everyone geared towards playing a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, basically a back four wingers kind of system. And you hire this guy mid-season, and you just basically threw the entire tactical setup of the club out the window. Like if you really wanted a manager like Amorim, I'll come back to this, right? Why not hire him in the summer, right? Like,
Yeah.
why did you
Yeah.
even extend? Why didn't we even extend Eric Ten Hag? Like you saw how Eric Ten Hag was all of last season, right? I mean, sure, I get it that he had injuries and all of that, right? And I was also kind
Yeah,
of,
but I
no, I mean, in the summer, I was also of the opinion that maybe you should give him one more season. He had a lot of injuries and all that. But sure, if that was your
right.
opinion, and I mean, okay, to be fair, they didn't give him a new contract. They just triggered his club extension of 1 year. But you extend him for a year, right? And then by October, you've already lost patience with him. Like barely 2 months into a season, right? Like, and then you fire him, and then you appoint your interim manager, right? Then sure, then take him till the end of the season, right? Like, I mean, it just I mean, I start on this topic, I get very, very annoyed. But it just such stupid thing, man. Like the reason they took over our club was saying, hey, we'll run this club better than the Glazers, right? They're like, hey, United fans, you have had 20 years of pain with mismanagement of Glazers, we'll do better. And they come and do worse things than Ed Woodward, man. Like, come on, which United fan,
How
like,
how did
United
we
fans pining for
achieve?
Ed Woodward is like the worst thing ever, man. Like that's I think the level you come down to.
Man, I remember in 2014-15 we had like RVP getting injured. So news reports are like, oh, like we lack strikers. So this dude, he just gets off his ass and he brings in Falcao. Like
Yeah,
it's a terrible move. Like Falcao had knee injuries and all of that. I know, but
yeah,
like, he was still like he still showed this desire to compete
right.
in that situation. I feel like what Ineos brings is so far a track record of dismal failure. They failed at Lausanne, the first club in Switzerland, and I'm quoting Sir Jim. He said, "Oh, we've learned better from our mistakes in Switzerland." They haven't. They set up at Nice. They ran through like a manager on average every one season. I think it's even worse than that. When they started, their idea was we buy young players on the cheap, we improve them, sell them on the up, and reinvest that money into continually competing. 3 seasons later, they were making free agent signings of Casper Schmeichel, Aaron Ramsey, and Ross Barkley. Like, at the grand age of 30 plus, I think, for at least two of them. So, I don't see if evidence of Ineos consistently running a football club anywhere. They couldn't do it in 3 countries, and I feel like the mistakes are even more glaring now because the Premier League is just unforgiving.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and okay, like I want to talk about this because it's a big issue at the club. We kind of touched on it a little before, but we have issues in midfield and defense. We have profiles that don't fit absolutely. The biggest problem is the strikers at the club, the lack of goals. Like what's like we're in a I don't want to say it. We're in deep shit. Like the level of strikers that we have just I'm not even sure the Premier League quality,
Yeah,
much
yeah,
less
totally.
top four.
Yeah, I mean, we have two strikers right now in the club where we have Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee, and both are kind of shit.
Right.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
I don't know. Like
Like just to touch on Somjit's question from earlier as well. Like we were to like talking about sustainable. Like, do we see this system being like getting us the wins that we want, like giving us more sustainable wins, and getting back in the mix of winning trophies year and year again. My feeling is what I think is, and what I've seen over the years in the Premier League or just Champions League in general, like all the top coaches, right? Pep Guardiola, you can say Sir Alex Ferguson, you can say so many like Carlo Ancelotti. They've all always like they went into their they went to the clubs that they won with certain ideas, certain systems, certain ways they want to play. And what I've seen is what I've seen is for having that kind of sustainable success, they have made like they have a philosophy, they go by it, and what they usually like they have formations, they usually tweak it, adapt to season by season. And what the clubs and like their clubs that they have hired them done is like they help them out with the right profile of player, with the right quality of players, which made sure they could do that. Now coming to Amarin's, do I see him this three at the back formation being a sustainable formation like for winning, for continuously winning the Premier League, or getting us in the Champions League and winning the Champions League? I cannot say at the moment there yet, or I cannot say that this system will work for sure. One thing I could say is like we have to back him in the correct manner to at least see what happens next. Because like if we do that as well, like that is a minimal effort, right? From any of us. That would be like that is very obvious. Like we have to back him. We have to see if this works or not. Okay, in your like in the future we might see that okay maybe have made a mistake, but that does mean that we should not back Amorim with the right players and the right person. So that is what I feel. Like systems, okay, you can play 4-2-3-1. You can Champions League. You can play. Even Tuchel's a good success with three at the back. Even of course like Julian Nagelsmann, they also play that. Why not? Like a system can be good, but it has to be completely tested first.
Yeah, yeah,
You have to
but
back the manager for that.
but the managers you just mentioned, right? Like Tuchel and Nagelsmann, yeah, they did deploy like those systems roughly at different points of time, but they also adapted game to game. Like they weren't so firmly wedded to the idea that I must have this shape. And to be fair to Amram, he's starting to show evidence that of that adaptation himself. We'll come to that in a moment.
yeah.
But I get worried sometimes by how steadfast he is, like especially in terms of structure.
No,
I
no,
feel
I,
like he
I
doesn't
agree.
give
They
enough.
they have to adapt game to game. They have to adapt season to season as well. But their core philosophy, I don't think that changes too much over time. Like even Pep Guardiola, he never really went away from position-based fall, but he did keep changing the system. Like even in his tenure at City, he kept changing. He's also played three at the back at times. He's played four at the back at times. His philosophy never changed, but he did tweak it season by season and game by game to reach where he is today. So, but again, they gets all that backing, right? He gets all,
Yeah.
he literally bought three. I think he made three signings this January,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I think they are the only club made that. Probably, I don't know, but just like they back him with the right players. They always give him time, and Guardiola is also one of those players who has never who has very strong principles of how to play,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
he play. So
I,
system
I-
can be anything, but you really have to see if an EOS is gonna back Amorim or not. So that
yeah,
will
yeah,
decide in the future whether we are gonna be sustainable winners or not.
yeah, yeah. No,
it's
totally.
interesting
And
you touch upon Pep's. Yeah, go ahead, Pratyush.
no, no. Yeah, I mean, since Ron was talking about backing the manager, right? Yeah, I just wanted to kind of segue into Highland because Somdeep was bringing up earlier. These are his stats, right? If you look
Oh,
at
I'm so
last
sorry,
season,
Sandeep.
uh, yeah, no, no. I think we do need to talk about Highland, right? I mean, if you talk about system, I mean, we can do any system you want, right? But
Yes,
Pep had Messi, and now he has Haaland,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
Yeah.
That's why his system works. I mean, ultimately, football is about scoring goals, right? Um, so,
Yeah.
Rowan, I
Yeah.
want,
I agree.
Yeah.
There's nothing more valuable than gold. Yeah.
yeah. So, Rowan, I want to ask you. This is Rasmus Højlund, right? Last season, he had what 16 goals in around what 40 odd games, but this season he has, my God, just 7 goals in like 30 games already, man. So yeah,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, he has 5 goals in the Europa League.
I'm pleasantly surprised. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right, right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and he had just 2 goals in the league in 13 starts, right, and 18 appearances total. So yeah, Rowan, since um, we were talking about Amorim's system and all of that, um, who do you think we should target? A realistic option, because this clearly is not working out. And I can bring up Joshua Zirkzee. I don't think he's going to be much better. Um,
He isn't.
Uh, I do have a couple of names that I want to name. Like from my that be like my wish list, and probably maybe you all might think uh, some of those names as well. Like one player I've seen do really well, like as a striker, and the kind of profile that we need is Jonathan David. Okay, he plays for us, right. Uh, yeah. So his from whatever I've seen of his, I think he's that guy who can like level us up in terms of of having someone who coach get make those time run to the box to get on the end of crosses. Hold up pace maybe 50-50, but he has that quality. He has good enough quality for what I've seen of him to really look up in the deep as well as make those runs that we need right now in the final third, like where to get on the end of process to really to and also he has a goal record as well.
Yeah.
Right now he's doing really well. And we need that clinical striker. We need that team quality striker that which I think Jonathan David can be. I don't think Holland is anywhere near first team quality, right? Not at all. Like on the bench, I'd be a little skeptical to put him on the bench, rotate him for a few games because I think he needs to train a lot. I think he needs to have maybe he needs to go back to like the under 18 and train with them and then come to get ready. I feel there is potential there. That is for sure. Like I've seen that in Holland, but I don't think he's ready at all. Like he's very raw. So with that first team quality striker, that swim striker that can really get us the goals. Even like in very tight situations, these kind of strikers is what we should target.
Yeah,
Jonathan
Hoyland
David,
is clearly
another name
nowhere
I
near.
is
Yeah, Hoyland is
yeah,
clearly nowhere
another name I
Jonathan
can
David.
yeah, and another name I
You,
can
you know
is
what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, it's the graph that you just pulled up. What really like blows my mind is that Zogzi, who's by his own definition a 9.5, like that's his whole gimmick. He
The
wants
graphic
to
holds
play
up, man. The
outside the
graphic
box,
is a
which is okay.
9.5.
Yeah, yeah, but the really incredible thing is that Rasmus Højlund, who we paid 75 million for, has less XG. Or don't do that. Like that's just evil. Like remove that. Like no, but seriously, like Hoyland has less XG and goals than Xerxes, which means that a guy whose primary strengths are arriving in the box isn't even arriving in the box enough at the end of those chances. And we have this narrative, United fans often say that the team lacks chance creation, and it does. It's not the greatest, but Zirkzee plays on the same team, and he's somehow generating more XG, so he's actually getting on the end of more chances than Hoyland. Like
Yeah.
to me, I think this is probably where the Glazers and Ineos have both gone wrong. We've spent obscene amounts of money on young players, put them under tremendous pressure to deliver, especially in things like goal scoring, which is extremely challenging. And we expect them to lead the line, and expect that this is going to work. That we can buy young, have them play those roles, and just expect that it's going to work and they're going to be able to score. And it rarely functions like that.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
targets Rohan's mentioning, like to me, they make more sense also because Gyökeres is 26, David is 25. They have a record of some goals in top European leagues,
Yeah.
which I think stands for something. Now, which of them is the best fit for United? I think that's a separate discussion. I won't go into that right now. But like seriously, like what's been with the type of players United have bought? Okay, you've bought Anthony, you've bought Hoyland, you've bought Casemiro, but those are 75 million, 80 million, 75 million worth of purchases.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
what's
Anthony,
the.
man. What the heck
And now
was
we've spent
that?
60 million on Ugarte. Yeah, like, I don't know, like 80 million, you know? And we spent 60 million on Ugarte, like, who's probably not going to be as poor a signing as Anthony, because at least he fills a gap for a player we lack.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I still feel we overpaid there too, you know. So I don't know. Like I think this is the downstream impact of overpaying for players in this manner. We've got Casemiro who we can't offload, and he's not getting games. He's not of use to the squad either right now, and Rashford's probably in the same boat, but at least like we didn't pay for a transfer fee there. But yeah, I don't know how we even deal with the Hoyland problem now. Like we can't sell him because that would be a huge loss, and we probably
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
afford that right now on PSR.
No, I feel that with Hoyland, it's more a confidence issue, right? He had a poor start to the season, and I think just that kind of, just compounded at some point. And right now, he just looks like a guy devoid of confidence, right? Like if you look at the Europa, he has like what? He has 5 goals in 8 or 7 games, right? But if you look at the Premier League, he has 2 goals. Like, for all the trolling we do of Joshua Zirkzee has more goals in the league than Hoyland. Um, so
Yeah.
I think what is needed
You know
is,
who has more than both of them?
I know Marcus Rashford. We'll come to him. No, but I think what I feel with Hoyland is that I think we need a more senior striker, man. Hoyland is what, 22, 23? What's his age, man? Like I can't remember, but like yeah,
I think he's
he's
22 right now.
21. He's 21. He'll be 22 in a few days. So like we bought him as a
He's
20-year-old.
22. Like,
Yeah, no. So I mean, technically, it will be 22 in 3 days. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine.
No. What
He's
I'm saying
22 when
is,
he turns 22.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is, we bought a 20-year-old guy, right? Last season, right? He was 20 when we bought him.
Right.
We bought a 20-year-old guy
Yeah.
to lead the line of a club that has European ambitions, right? And it's not like Hoyland
Yeah.
is Haaland, right? Despite the names being similar. He's nowhere close to that quality right now. Maybe he'll be in 5 years. We can't say, but right now he's definitely not, right? And you know that dude, that guy struggled to score in Atalanta, man, of all places. Like, and you buy a 20-year-old to lead your line, and then you go shock Pikachu that he's not scoring goals, right? Like, what did you expect? I mean, for all his fans, at least Eric Ten Hag wanted Harry Kane, right? And yeah, I mean, he went to Bayern.
Yeah, and I want Mbappe, man. Like that doesn't that doesn't solve. No, because I think the thing with Ten Hag is like I don't know, like I don't want to say it's money laundering, but it sure felt like that because 80 million on Anthony, 75 million on Hoyland. Like I'd struggle to come up with a computer game with equivalent valuations for those players. Like
Yeah,
I just don't see any sense behind that. Okay, if we paid 90 million for Kane, in theory, I understand the valuation. But
right.
Hoyland just doesn't. Like, to me, it's not even evident he had the level of potential.
Yeah,
City
no.
got Haaland for less. So.
I mean, to be fair, Haaland had a release clause.
Yeah. Hoyland didn't have a release clause because they didn't think he needed one. You know, they were not worried about somebody like,
Yeah, and
you know,
like I was talking
purchasing
about
early.
Haaland, right? So I mean, okay, I'm just going to read out the stats here in 2022-23, right? So for
Right.
Atalanta, and wait, I think he was in Sturmgras as well that season. I guess he got transferred.
Yeah, that's what they purchased. Yeah, that's what they
Okay,
purchased.
sure. So let's include Sturmgras as well, right? So in that season 22-23, he played in what is this 39 matches, out of which 24 were starts, right? So 39
Right.
matches, and he had a grand total of 13 goals. How do you pay 75 million for a player like this?
I mean, okay, I can see the logic of paying for potential, but here I
Yeah, but
feel
where's the
they
potential here?
haven't looked at him. Okay, I mean, Chelsea bought Chelsea bought what's his name? What's their striker's name again?
Uh,
Why do I keep forgetting his name?
Jackson,
Yeah,
right?
Chelsea bought Jackson from
Jackson.
Villarreal, and he didn't exactly have this insane goal record. I think he had 9 or 10 goals in the second half of the season at Villarreal. But of course, I think what Chelsea looked at in terms of potential was okay, here's this guy who's scored almost double figures in the second half of the season in La Liga,
Right.
playing in a top 7 team, which isn't easy. La Liga is very
Yeah.
difficult to get goals, and because of the lack of space for attackers to run into. I feel like if you look at like we talk about the Premier League being conservative, but La Liga is some of the most conservative defenses in Europe from what I've seen. So I still see what the theory was that okay, here's this guy who has all the signs of maybe becoming a top striker. But in Hoyland's case, I really think I don't know, I think the gamble didn't make sense. Like I don't think we looked at everything before gambling on him.
Yeah. Oh, and also I would
Maybe
have
if
been
we had gone
fine
up
with the
someone
gamble. Like I would have been fine with the gamble if we actually had a striker, any striker at the club. We had nobody.
yeah, at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure, we had Anthony
We
Martial.
had
Then he was
Martial.
always in
We
the
had Martial
hospital.
who was injured.
Yeah, and also he played more as
Yeah.
left wing rather than
Uh,
a forward anyway, right? We played Martial more as
no, but
left winger.
interestingly, like Martial has 10 goals this season and he hasn't been injured at all since he left United.
Yeah, on a future episode we can shit on our medical team because we have seen this way too often.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Or Ten Hag. One of
yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think yeah, we're clearly not getting a striker this window either, right? I think all we're getting is a left wing back, probably, and a centre back we got from Arsenal. We'll probably talk about that next week. I mean, probably pretty. We have been chatting for a long time, But I do want to hit one more topic before we end, and it's going to be Somdeep's favorite topic. Rohan, can you guess? Can you guess it, Rohan?
Rashford.
Yes,
Marcus.
Marcus
Of course.
Rashford. Oh boy. Yeah, Amarim has been saying a lot of things about him recently. And like Somdeep alluded to earlier, Amarim said he'll play the goalkeeper's coach, who is 63 years old, ahead of Marcus Rashford. Which, I mean, to be fair, was funny. I'll give credit to Amarim for that. But man, he has fallen out of favor so fast. And the last week on Roy Keane's Gary Neville, I don't know who runs that podcast, basically where Keane and Neville chat shit. Roy Keane really, and even Rooney, both Rooney and Roy Keane publicly tore into Marcus Rashford, right? Like, Rooney was like, this has been going on from 2 years. I've told him to, focus, put his head down and focus. And I've told him multiple times. And Neville was like, hey, report said that he's been training well this week. And Keane really lost it at that point. He's like, what do you mean he's training well this week? That's what he's supposed to do. I could the way Roy Keane was talking, I could imagine Roy Keane doing a drop kick on Marcus Rashford that very moment if Rashford was next to him. Or like break his knee or something, like it to Haaland Sr. But I know Somdeep says everything is just Ineos PR, but come on, man, like multiple players are speaking out. Like Rooney publicly was saying that I've spoken to Rashford and still not improving. And yeah, Marcus Rashford, Somdeep, go.
I mean, okay, I think for me, I have to give context here. Like Marcus has been at the club since he was, I think, 6 or 7, right? He's part of the tapestry of Manchester United. However one feels about him as a player, he's part of that.
So was Scott McTominay. You're not that sentimental about him.
I am. I actually am. My problem with him was that he was incorrect for the position he was played in, and in that sense, it was wrong. But that didn't mean I thought it was necessary to sell him at that point. I was happy we sold him because the deal was financially rewarding for the club. But and you also have to contextualize, right, that Scott was largely played out of position and didn't always get opportunities to contribute. The few seasons he did, like his last season under Eric, he scored. I think he was our top scorer in the Premier League, or he was up there. Maybe he was second. I think he was second. Marcus, we've all seen him make his debut. The brace against Midtjylland, the brace against Arsenal. Right after that, we've seen him flourish and grow from a player who broke into the squad into one of the most important members of the team. We've seen him have a few seasons where he's been undoubtedly world class. I think 22-23, Eric Ten Hag's first season. He game after game he drove us to victories, often victories that we weren't fully deserving of as a unit.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
His performances and Bruno's propelled us to those. We saw that several times under Ole, to the point where he suffered, I think, a double stretch. But he played through that to ensure UCL qualification for the club. So, for me, the way I see it is, okay, he's a high earner, not justifying the expense. So we want to get him off the books. Fair. But we have Højlund and Zogzi. Like, beggars can't be choosers. You also, on some level, have to play players at a quality that the team needs, or at least players who are maybe better than the existing options. I think Amarim's been stern and very forthright about Rashford, and I appreciate that. But shouldn't he have the same level of sternness for the performances from Højlund and Zirkzee? The lack of goals from them as a whole, and the lack of goals from the squad as a whole. Rashford's not even been in the squad for 10 games, and he's still up there with our top scorers. How? Like, is that not a terrible indictment of everything at the club, including some of the decisions from Amorim. Some of them. Rashford shouldn't even be in that conversation. I mean, like I've seen him. Like he's been in the spectators at OT. Like I feel it's easy to move on from, or it's easy to sell good players when you have a core team already built that's strong in itself. But when your options are threadbare like ours are, how do you just like you have to really get your bang for buck for a player like Rashford, because his value to us is far more than his value to some other team out there, just because we have no options at this moment.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess
I know Rohan doesn't, but
I guess Amorim also probably wants to send a message, right? I mean, like similar to how Eric Ten Hag did with Sancho, right? Sancho was a profile we really needed in the club, right? Despite the high price tag and all that. But ETH still put his foot down, and if you remember, ETH even dropped Rashford at that time, right? And caused a big stir when I think in his first season, right? He just dropped Rashford from the squad, right?
yeah, he did.
Because he was late to a pre-match meeting or something. Like literally, he was scratched off the team sheet. And then I think a couple of games later, he said Rashford apologized, so he's back. He's a valuable player. But I mean, and if you see that, I think the same thing probably happened under Amorim too, right? Like I mean, we remember in the City game, he dropped both Rashford and Garnacho, right? It was not just Rashford who got the treatment. Like both were completely binned from the side. But you have seen Garnacho come back into the side, right? But what did Rashford do? He goes and gives an interview saying it's time for a new challenge. So yeah, I will let Ron continue.
I mean, see, I would like to say one thing about Rashford is like I have like from the time he came onto the scene, he burst onto the scene right from academy, and he really had a really impact on us, and he scored quite a amount of goals that needs to be acknowledged here. He scored a lot of goals for us, very critical goals for us as well. Even in tough, like these have been tough times for us as a team and a club. We haven't had the best of teams for the last like decade now, and he come in and he did score a lot of goals. But then again, it comes back to a lot of what Pratyush is also saying. Like, okay, he does have a good history with us. He does have a good past with us. But what about the now? Like, what are we seeing from Rashford right now? Because again, to turn the points which Pratyush said, okay, Garnacho also was he came back. We have ex players talking to him and advising to make a move or at least like train well and everything. We have a manager who is he Amorim said it himself, like in his previous interview, he just said it that okay, we would love to have the quality of Marcus Rashford in our team. We need him, but it's up to Marcus. It's up to Marcus. So that's where we see, right? Like now it's really up to Marcus whether now we don't know whether he wants to leave. We don't know what is happening with contract, like what is happening with the offers. Like he's getting offers from Barcelona. Is it stalled? Is he asking for too much money? We don't know anything. He's just like frozen in place where like you see the manager is not including him because let's say like he's saying it's training, and then there is Ineos who are definitely to like sell him to for PSR reasons. So again, it's really up to Marcus now. Like, does he get his move? Does he come back into training? Really train the way Amorim wants him to train. So it's up to Marcus, and I fully stand by Amorim here. Like to just said, because he, no matter who the player is, you have to an example. But otherwise, the player is just gonna walk all over it. like whoever it is, like just because like Rashford has scored these many goals for us and Hoyland and we haven't, doesn't mean that when there is like a disciplinary issue, the manager would is like he needs to take it and just needs to increase form. That won't really do well. Like it just said it's just standards, and that's what Amorim has also said. So that is what I feel like right now. He's just frozen in place. He needs to make a decision. He either needs to get in full swing with Amorim. He needs to come back to training and we do what Amorim says. Either find a solution for himself elsewhere. Because not playing, not training is really gonna hurt his chances in the future. Like he's not generating any value. He's declining in value by not training at all. Like Keane in his interview was very right to say that like if I want to secure a move elsewhere, even then I need to train, right? I need to stay sharp, and when I make the move, then I can just continue on. But then it's really up to Marcus now.
I'm gonna miss him at the club though. Like I think it makes sense for him to part ways with the club, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss having a competent goal scorer at the club.
No, that is
Or
definitely
any goal
there,
scorer,
right?
for that matter.
I mean, on his day, Rashford was a really, really good player, right? He would take on defenses all by himself, just run through the opposition and just pin it in the top corner of the goal, right?
He's had so many iconic moments as well, like with United. So we will definitely miss that. But again, like, can he get behind them? Can he or say, okay, this is not the best solution for me. Let me look elsewhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really up to his and his team now to sort of something for himself.
It kind of feels like this is United's Aubameyang moment, or this is Amorim's Aubameyang moment. Like, and this can go like all sorts of ways.
Right.
And depending on the reasons.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if
Also,
you look at it,
also
right?
giving that thing. Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. No, I was just saying, like I think Amorim just kind of wants to enable that, the strict discipline, respect the club above all kind of mentality, which, I mean, we saw Eric Ten Hag try, we saw Mourinho also try to an extent, right? Of course, Saf was the legend at this, like that dude, that guy sold off Beckham, man, like, because he didn't like his haircut, like, compared to that, if Rashford had done this under Ferguson, I think he would have got much harsher treatment compared to Amorim.
I know we all say that, I know we all say that, but Ferguson dealt with a player who kicked somebody in the stands. And
Yes, but he came to
Ferguson
training on
was his
time.
biggest champion for bringing back.
But he came to training on time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my thing is that, okay, the previous example you gave with Eric Ten Hag, right? He clearly was late on training then too. But he also did apologize. So he has previous for being able to course correct as well.
Yeah, but
What I
don't
don't
know.
get is
This time
why
it feels
course
like
correction not possible now.
no. I mean, but we don't know whether Marcus actually apologized or not. Like, if Rashford actually genuinely went and apologized, and Amorim still has been freezing him out, yes, the mistake is on Amorim. But we already saw with, Amorim literally did that to two players, right? He did to Rashford and Garnacho, and one player has come back in the side. And sorry, at this point I lost power, so the stream abruptly ended. So what you will watch or listen next is just a short wrap up. All right. If you have come here, hello people. If you have come here from Twitch wondering why your stream suddenly stopped, well, I had a power cut, so that's on me to get a UPS next time. But well, for those of you watching on YouTube or listening on podcast later, we're just going to quickly wrap this up. So as I was saying, Garnacho came in the side while Rashford didn't. And I think the three of us can talk about Rashford easily for another 30 minutes. But we'll end this episode today here, and we'll come back to you next week. And we'll probably talk more about Rashford, because I think if we cover, since this podcast is about covering the past week at United, Rashford will probably come every week till he either
That's
leaves the
what we
club
should
or
name it.
gets back into the side. But thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you're on YouTube or podcast, thanks for watching us. Please make sure to subscribe or follow, or do any of those things, right? Like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the drill at this point. It's not 2012. But we'll be
I wish
back.
it was.
Yeah. Sorry, what are you saying, Sandeep?
I wish it was. We'd be on the verge of winning a Premier League title.
Oh yeah, well, we'll see. But we will be back on your Twitch streams and your YouTube inboxes next weekend, and I think we'll be streaming on Saturday night next weekend, and unless it changes, will be. But our default streaming time is going to be Saturday evening Pacific time, unless like today we have some scheduling conflicts. We'll make it Friday evening. But we'll see you next week. In the meanwhile, subscribe to our channel. Tell your friends who like United or hate United. We'll take everyone here. And goodbye, everybody.
Good night.
Good day. Good night.